I'm Clint Gibbs, and on behalf of my friends at Rack Attack, I'm going to give you a tutorial on how to use the Saris MTR bike rack. When you receive the Saris MTR, it's going to be fully assembled. All we have to do is take it out of the box and install it on the vehicle. To lift it up on your hitch receiver, you're going to grab the handle here and then grab underneath just below the logo where it says Made in the USA. Pick it up and slide it in the hitch receiver. When you slide it in, you want to make sure the holes line up in your hitch receiver and the ones on the arm of the rack. Now we're going to slide the pin in, and you want to put the washers on, so the black one goes on first and then the lock washer. And we're going to turn it, and you want to put it in from the right side and just thread it all the way in. As it starts to get tight, you want to shake the rack back and forth and up and down as you tighten the pin, and that will secure it very well in the hitch receiver. Now we'll install the lock on the pin. If it's in the lock position, it'll lock into place. If it's not, you'll have to turn the key to the right position so that this is locked. This will lock the rack onto the vehicle. And then you want to make sure you put that rubber cover on to protect it from the elements. If this is the first time you put the rack on the vehicle, you can slide this pin to make contact with the hitch receiver. Push this down. That way, the next time you put the rack in the vehicle, the holes will line up perfectly. This is what the rack looks like when it's installed on the vehicle, and the trays are in the up position, which you can leave those in that position if you're storing it in your garage. It makes this rack really easy to put in your garage if you have limited storage space. And we'll extend the trays once we drop the rack down. To lower the rack, we're going to grab the handle and pull up and lower the rack, supporting it as it drops down, and we'll lock it into that first position. Move it up and down just to make sure it's locked into place. It's always a good idea to look at this silver pin and make sure it's locked into this groove of the rack. I do want to mention, when you get this rack, it will be locked in this position in the box. So what you'll need to do before you put it on the vehicle is pull up on the handle and then put it in this position before you put it on your vehicle. Now we're going to swing the trays out, and you can do this when it's up against the vehicle. I just find that it's easier to do once you lay the rack down. So you're going to pull up on this silver pin and then swing the tray out. Once it gets into the right position, that silver pin will lock into place. And we'll do this for all 4 trays. To load a bike, we're going to pull up on this silver lever and rotate the arm up. And you can do this with just one hand. And we'll do the other one. Now the rack is ready to mount a bike. You may have to reposition this bridge depending on the tire size of the bike that you'll be putting on the rack. Smaller wheel bikes will use the lower holes, and then the upper holes are used for the bigger bikes. Generally, 29ers will use the top hole in road bikes, and 650B bikes or 27.5 will use the second hole. There is an Allen wrench stored on the back side of the rack, so you can just pop it out with your fingers and then pull it out, and that way you can adjust those bridges with this wrench. This rack can drop lower to the ground so you can access your hatchback of your vehicle, but you can also do that to access this wrench a little bit easier. So just a tip there for you. We're going to mount the 27.5 bike, so I'm going to undo this bolt, slide the wheel bridge up, and put it in the second hole from the top. And when you tighten this down, it doesn't have to be crazy tight. I would say about 5 Newton meters. Now just lift the bike up, set it on the trays, and we're going to secure the front wheel first. Make sure the front wheel touches the wheel block without going over it. Then move the front arm up until it makes contact with the front tire. And when you make contact, it doesn't have to be that tight because you don't want to push the tire back over that wheel block. So the front tire is secure, and now we'll do the rear tire. Holding the bike in place with one hand, just slide the rear arm up until it makes contact with the tire, and then kind of give it a little tug there, make sure it's real secure. And the last thing is to take the Velcro strap that's included with the rack, put it around the rear tire, and secure that into place. And this is what it looks like with the bike mounted on the bike rack. Just a tip, if you have a mountain bike that has a dropper seat post and you're carrying more than one bike, it's a good idea to drop the post down a little bit just to make 100% sure you don't have contact with the saddle and the handlebars of the second bike. And I've mounted a second bike so that you can see what it looks like with 2 bikes mounted onto this rack. And it's really nice that the trays are elevated one above the other so that there's much less chance of components of the bicycles contacting each other. If you need to access the rear of your vehicle, you can pull up on this handle and lower the bike rack down, supporting the bikes with your hand as you do so. Lower it down gently. And to put the bike rack back up, just grab the handle, push with your hand on the bikes and lift up with the handle at the same time. And of course, make sure it locks into place. To use the integrated locks to secure your bikes onto the rack, you're going to twist and pull the cables out on each side. Wrap the cables around your frame and use the key to secure the locks. To remove the bikes, you're going to undo the strap, and then you'll want to make sure you put the strap around the rack. Make sure the Velcro is secure. Undo the rear wheel first. Keep your hand on the bike. Undo the front wheel and remove the bike. And of course, when you don't have bikes on the rack, make sure you put the arms back down. And then to put the rack up against the car, just pull on the handle, push it up, and it will lock into place. Here's a tip to access the back of your car easier for unloading and loading. You can pull up on the silver tabs, rotate 2 trays or all 4, and that way it's easier for you to get closer to the vehicle so you can put suitcases and boxes and gear or whatever in the back of your car. Some people may want to rotate the arms up when they're driving around with no bikes on, so it's a matter of personal preference. So that's how you use the Saris MTR bike rack. It's a really solid rack with a lot of great features that's very easy to use and keeps your bikes really secure. Thanks for watching and happy trails.